The following is a special presentation of Tony Kurre Radio.
Happy New Year. Welcome back to another Home Field Advantage. To my left here on our Tony Kurre page. We do this, of course, on Twitter, and we do it on Instagram, and we do it on Facebook. It's all over the place, right? But we also do it on
everywhere.
Exactly. But we do it on YouTube as well, so people can actually watch and see you. We get more viewerships because of YouTube, and obviously people want to see who they're listening to. And Teresa Autrey, 294-4210. 294-4210 is just fantastic. She's been in the industry of real estate for over 30 years. And today we're going to be talking about the top 10 issues that will impact real estate in 2025, which is perfect. I love that. And super excited about your thoughts on this top 10 list. Before we go there, first of all, Happy New Year to you. We speak 2 or 3 times a week. And I have not gotten your thoughts. And I know how you feel about what's happening in the LA County area and just the West Coast in general with the fires. It looks like things have died down just a little bit. It's come back. But I was reading an article this morning from Fox Business, Palisades Real Estate. How long will it take to rebound from devastating fires? I know why a lot of people are still picking things up and trying to keep people from looting their land. There are developers and things that are already looking at, okay, how are we going to rebuild? And I know that's not something a lot of people want to think about, but it is certainly a necessary need for that. But anyway, I just want to get your thoughts on that. You're a real estate person, and structurally, it's just amazing what's been damaged and what's been taken from us.
Yeah. First, we want to send out our prayers and thoughts to the people, because I've been in hurricanes before, and it's devastating when everything's ripped from you in seconds. So we certainly want to send our thoughts and prayers out to them. But seeing that where the Rose Bowl is normally in Pasadena, to see the whole city's gone, and coming down Highway 1, it's not just a foot miles of destruction, miles. And just if that happened in one community, it could take 1 to 3 years. Now, fortunately, FEMA's come in, the National Guard's come in, they're going to help, and you'll have cleanup period. And then the people will have to make some decisions. Do they want to keep the land and rebuild, or due to some political uncertainties, which is in our top 10 list that we'll discuss today, some have said, no, we're not staying, we're moving to another state. And some have said, that I think Justine Bateman, a famous film producer, said it this morning. She said, we need to quit voting R&Ds. We need to vote people.
Yeah.
And I thought she made a very good point, because certainly not being prepared, it would be no different than the Gulf Coast not being prepared.
Yeah,
and I love the fact it's becoming the Gulf Coast of America. I just had to throw that in there.
Yeah, the Gulf Coast of America, or America. What do they call it? Mexico, America, or Mexico, America, no. Mexico. Yeah, but I like the Gulf of Mexico and the Gulf of America too. Much like Lahaina, when they were talking about Hawaii, there was this common misnomer that well, if you're living in Hawaii, you must be wealthy, and these people have money. They're living in this beautiful paradise, and certainly our thoughts and prayers go out to them. But I'm sure they'll have no problem rebuilding. And little do people know that nearly half of the people that live in Hawaii are under the poverty line. It's a tourist place where a lot of people go. Obviously,
if you're born there, how are you going to get off the island if you have the money?
Exactly. So talk a little bit about the area impacted by it, because a lot of people are like, it's Malibu, it's San Bernardino, it's all these beautiful areas, it's oceanfront property. But again, a lot of people were born there; they lived there for 30 or 40 years. They're not celebrities.
Well, it's not just that. 9,000 building structure alone were taken down. Just 9,000. And that means businesses. That means apartment buildings. Not everybody can afford. I've been to California several times. I think you have too. And I have friends that have moved from California, and due to the homeless situation out there last year, and their houses were 1.5, 1.7. Well, they were average people. They don't consider themselves wealthy by any means. And I had an aunt and uncle that lived in San Diego for about 16 years. Well, they lived frugal. He worked for a computer company, and she worked above a bakery. Mm-hmm. So when you're talking about 9,000 structures of business, apartment buildings, townhomes, condos, that's a whole different bowl of wax, and that's just something we need to keep them in our prayers about, and pray that they get that in order, because it's like, to them, three things happen every year, just like to us. We get hurricanes, we get tornadoes, we get droughts, they get mudslides, they get earthquakes, they get fires. We have to be prepared. And I'm sorry, but it does stop at the top of the ladder.
Yeah.
I can't blame the firemen that the fire hoses are hooked up to hydrants that don't have water in. Mm-hmm. And then when they get to the places that do have the water, you can't get back in. Yeah. So it's not the fireman's fault. This really has to go all the way up to the top. And that's part of what we'll be discussing today about.
Yeah, two things struck me. First of all, about 2 or 3 years ago, that area of the country was flooded, had more rain than they knew what to do with. The reservoirs are absolutely full, and obviously they couldn't get their hands on this water because of the way there was one in, way out in a lot of these areas. And somebody was speaking about there was so much to burn because of all the new vegetation that was growing because of all this water we had from 3 years ago. I'm like, my gosh, I mean, if it's not one thing, it's the other. The other thing is a lot of these fires end up burning out because they were butting up against fires that burned there 2 or 3 years ago, which should just tell you just how incredible it is. And I'm sitting there talking to a friend of mine. I was like, how much more land is there out there to burn? It's crazy. Real quick before we move on, I thought this was interesting. I don't know if you can scatter any information on this, but I've heard a lot of people say that they may not be covered insurance wise for fires. How in areas of the country, you mentioned hurricanes, if you're in a prone area, a flood zone prone area, do you need special insurance there? And do people in LA need special fire insurance?
Yes, absolutely. You have to have, like for down here at the coast, south of I-10, you have astronomical, my battery just beeped, it might go dead. I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
But it said that if you were down at the coast south of I-10, you have a completely different insurance policy for floods, hurricanes, sort of water damage, because that's what's most prevalent down there. In California, they have fire policies. This will be the largest, most catastrophic fire in history. They've already noted this will be in the billions of dollars. And it's just so unfortunate.
It really is.
And FEMA will reach out just like Katrina did at Louisiana. However, it could be years before they see insurance money. And not everybody's rich that lives there. Not everybody has Hollywood status. So we just want to keep everybody in our prayers, but certainly the regular people, as they call them, not the people that have 14 beach houses to go live in each week. So we just want to remember everybody.
Keller Williams, very, very fortunate to have Teresa Autrey now joining their group. She joined them a couple weeks ago. And of course, her number is 294-4210, 294-4210. That number is always the same. She's been in the business for over 30 years. I'm going to be working with her step by step as I get out of my rental and end up getting into a new home. And I know that you've got some new developments that you're working on, which I'm super, super excited about. We can't say anything about yet, but we will get into that. Top 10 issues that will...
and I'm going to pause just a second, Tony, to plug in my laptop because I did not realize it's not plugged in.
Go ahead.
Bear with me for 2 seconds.
Go ahead.
So sorry.
That's okay. We'll edit this. Don't worry about it. Don't say another word about it.
Okay. I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
I thought it had charged and I was like, I don't need to plug it in. And of course I do.
Yeah, that's no problem. We'll
but hey, we promise real life every day. So this is real life.
We will cut this out. It's no problem. I already marked it. I already marked it on my tape, and we'll cut it out.
Okay. Sorry about that. Let me set back down and get repositioned. Okay. We should be good to go to the end of the show now. Thank you.
Let me reset. We're going to talk about the top 10 issues that impact real estate in 2025. And we'll just kind of go number by number here. And I'd love for you to talk about these. Some of these make sense to me. Some of them I have no clue, and I need an expert like you to explain them to me. But one of those, political uncertainty. Of course, we're going through an election year that changes for everybody.
Well, and it's not just that. A lot of setting... elections are done 4 years, 6 years, and 2 years. So some of the people that were not up 2 years ago or 4 years ago are now up now. But with Trump coming back into office, he has promised great incentives. And I don't know if you saw his Wednesday morning speech that he gave live, but one of those is to make it easier on investors so that they are not stuck in, I'm going to use his exact phrasing, quagmire of red tape that America seems to have. Because I have never seen stuff should not take 3 years to get approved or denied. It just shouldn't. Mm-hmm. And every day you own a piece of property, and you're not moving dirt to make it a place for people to live is the day it's costing you money. That's called holding cost.
Absolutely.
So every day you're not putting a house on the ground, sticks in the dirt, people aren't closing, that's another day. So when you get someone in there that has a business mind, who understands the real estate aspect and has negotiated with other powerful investors to say, hey, listen, we're not going to leave you in the mud. We're going to walk you through this. We're going to give you some, special attention. They're sinking $20 billion into the market. And that's just one investor. So thank you, God, because, that leads us to our next thing, which is what we just talked about, the cost of rebuilding California, the cost of rebuilding after the hurricane just hit up the coast of North Carolina. That's going to break into what's going to happen. A lot of people thought, buying a house is just going to go down. That's not the case. Mm-hmm. We're now shorter than we were before on housing, which leads us to the high financing cost. Interest rates are still at 6.25 right now. So that's actually really, really good. However, a lot of people want the 2.9 or the 3.5 days back.
And it's not coming
due to these natural disasters. We in real estate, they're literally labeled as acts of God.
Yep.
I don't foresee, it's going to level out. Things are not going to sell as fast as they are. You're not going to get 50 things, but if it's still priced right and in decent condition, it's still going to sell. And that's going to lead me to my next topic, which is construction cost rises and falls with steel. And I don't know if you saw, but they trying to block the sale of U.S. steel.
Yep.
And traditionally, historically, steel and real estate have always mirrored each other. So one goes up, the other one goes up, one goes down, the other one goes down. Well, with our new system, there's something that's playing into effect that a lot of people did not take into consideration. There's a lot of loans, a lot of PPP that are now coming to maturity. And the hugest system is that 25 to 26. And those loans are primarily the businesses.
Mm-hmm. Are you talking? Hold on. Are you talking primarily the COVID loans, or are you just talking about overall PPP loans, or just coming in?
Well, overall, it's the COVID loans.
Yeah.
Because we're at the 5-year mark, and they're maturing in 25, 26. Well, we're in 25.
Yeah.
So, but then that leads us to our next point, because AI is taking over so much. AI, you heard of Chat GPT. Mm-hmm. Well, it's taken over so much that people are no longer needing to go in and sit in a physical office. So some of these buildings may not be there. The commercial industry, you may see an influx of commercial property, not the land, but buildings. Now, there's always need for it because people are always starting new things. And certainly like in Alabama, we're huge in the automotive, we're huge in the medical, both of which you need buildings for. Mm-hmm. So then that leads us to more of the geographical and the regional kind of war situation.
And what exactly is that geopolitical and regional wars?
Well, that's like if we are usually getting stuff from different countries, and now the tariffs may or may not be on those, we're still going to be able to get them. It's not like we've rent out, but it's going to be a higher price to get some items. Because, for instance, right now, look at the oil situation. The Biden administration has closed off 959 acres of oil here in America that we could drill on right now today. Mm-hmm. So the new president has stated that he's going to open that back up so we can drill here to keep prices lower. It's always cheaper to get something in your own home than it is to go across the street and get it.
Sure.
In this case, across the ocean.
Yeah.
And so we want to make sure that the war is over there. It's not going to affect prices here, like with the Ukraine, with Russia and stuff of that nature. And then we look at the cost of these natural disasters, and insurance has blown up over the last 10 years to the tune of 45.5% on the average American home. I mean, that's like if your mortgage payment went up 45%. How many people could afford their mortgage?
Yeah, and stop right there. This is because I want to reset top 10 issues that impact real estate in 2025. I just hear the word insurance, and it it makes me, and it probably does for you too. Insurance used to be a necessary evil. It was something you had to have, but you rarely used it. Now it appears that everything from medical insurance to certainly building insurance, home insurance, and certainly insurance fraud is something that runs rampant in this country. A lot of that went down with COVID and the BP oil spill and things like that. But just talk about the insurance. Is that something that you would like to see overhauled? Because I mean, it's gotten out of control to the point where you get the point now where people can't get insured. Even people that want to pay, they have the money to pay for insurance. They can't get insured for some things.
Well, this is just Teresa Autrey's personal opinion.
Sure.
I would like to see every bit of the insurance in the entire world overhauled. It is ridiculous. It is to the point of ridiculousness. You have to be almost overinsured, and they deny more than they actually pay. Then what am I paying you for? Yeah. And I'll tell you, for an example, new homeowner, they got a house payment of say $1,200, and they've got PMI, which is mortgage insurance on that. That's the first insurance. Then they got the homeowners insurance, and then they got casualty insurance. Then they've got to have, sometimes now you have to have special riders for flood insurance or fire insurance, roof insurance, and then you end up getting your car insurance, your health insurance. And you get your life insurance. And let's just not even consider you're running a business and you got to have your business insurance. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's a lot of insurance just to be an American legally. And what frustrated me is, for instance, my health insurance came up for renewal, and I'm younger than the average realtor. I have great health insurance. But I asked what was the cash price cost on a medicine, and $875.
Yep.
Who needs that? Who needs $875 for 1 month worth of medicine?
Yep.
So
a pharmaceutical company that spent $10 billion in 10 years developing this particular, that's what they'll say.
And so, and I don't feel sorry for the insurance company to say, well, this has been our biggest year ever. Yeah. How about the 45 other years that you didn't pay a dime out?
Yeah.
I mean, let's be honest. And then that all flows back into the housing affordability. And the housing affordability, because of we're about, in America right now, we're 4.4 million units short on housing.
Okay.
4.4.
Can you put that in layman's terms for me? Is that bad? Is that good? What is it normally like?
5 million houses on the ground right now.
Yeah.
And everybody that needed a house could get one. I'm not talking about the homeless people. There's always going to be homeless people. Mm-hmm. And that's a small percentage of everything. And we're sorry about that. We don't want people to be homeless. But what I mean is, if we have 5 million houses on the ground right now that fit the dynamics and the criteria, we would be only 600,000 to the plus.
Okay, wow. So we're in trouble. And then
what we are is you already have places like California that had homeless people sleeping in the yards, and the people couldn't sell their house because who wants to walk over somebody asleep in the yard? But now you've got the construction cost of rebuilding that, permit cost. You've got, builders are not out here killing it and making 100% profit. Sometimes their permits are thousands and thousands of dollars. For me to sell in each city or county or state, I got to buy all these business licenses. Mm-hmm. And that's if I just want to do business there. That don't mean I'm going to do business there.
Yeah.
And when we get to that since COVID happened, the construction market's gone up overall, and it's 44.5% in the last 15 years. And despite the increase of new construction and new developments, which we'll be hosting one on our show, mm-hmm. then it's decline in the multifamily. People want their own home. They want, people are tired of the HOAs that are so mismanaged right now. A lot of the condos, and we'll talk about this on another show, but a lot of the condos and townhomes that have HOA are no longer FHA and DA approved. So that takes a whole, 2/3 of the pool just right out.
Yeah.
And, so what we're thinking that the affordability is going to be an issue this year because rates have not dropped the way they traditionally have dropped in an election year. They went down twice last year. They're predicting that this year is just going to be almost the same as last year. So my son asked a good question. Mom, what are you going to do different? He didn't say better. He didn't say worse.
It's a great question. That's a great question for a person that's in your shoes.
And I said, well, son, I thought about what not to do, that's for sure. But then that leads us to the Chat GPT thing, because here's some new things that's happening on this situation. I literally know a friend who's out of a job right now, and she's brilliant. And she's applied about 50 jobs. And she got an interview round 1, got an interview round 2, took all these tests, assessment tests, background, fingerprints, everything. She got an email earlier this week after a phone interview saying, we've just decided to eliminate this whole position. We're going to hand it over to an AI.
Yep.
And that leads us back to, well, it's going to be another 2 years before she can afford a home, because now she's had a significant break in income. It's not just been a month or 2 months. It's been about 6. And then when we look at the sustainability, that means like the massive economic growth and development, there needs to be a lot of oversight right now.
Oversight what?
This does not need to be another COVID debacle.
Yeah.
We don't have the resources, the time, and quite frankly, the people do not have the patience for it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
We have got to get people in office that actually know about money, how to manage money, how to fund the money, and what the market needs. And we do not need incompetent people anymore. We don't have any more lacks in our road for that. If we don't get some good, efficient people in to handle these situations, we are going to have a huge problem. And that's not just on everybody. That's not just on the senators or the congressmen. That's all the way down to me and you. That's all the way down to our children's children.
Yeah, and
we're in $1 trillion worth of debt.
So something that I think is really interesting about this, Teresa Autrey, 294-4210, 294-4210. She's with Keller Williams. Just recently got with them. They actually poached her away, and she's doing fantastic with them. She's been doing real estate for over 30 years. When you look at these things, from the political uncertainty, the high financing costs, the loan maturity deadlines, the geopolitical and regional wars, the insurance costs, the housing affordability, the artificial intelligence, the sustainability, that's the ones we've gone through right now. We're not talking about one thing. If we're 4.4 million homes short and that was it, okay, we build more homes. But it's not. Because of that, we have an affordability issue, because everyone's popping rent and popping prices. So now we have another problem. And then we have a sustainability problem, which is the overall problem. And that is the whole thing. So, I mean, it's amazing, because it's going to take a village, man, because it's going to be taken from, you're talking about different areas of real estate that all need to be in sync with each other in order to work. If we just built 4.4 million homes tomorrow, our problems would not be solved. Because someone would come someone would just come in and pop the price. There are people that need them
that can't afford them.
Exactly. And
here's the next thing.
Yeah.
Because that's going to lead us into the price gap kind of expectations.
Mm-hmm.
So the buyers are sitting here saying, oh, well, the sellers need to come down. Well, the sellers are saying, I can't come down because I can't buy another home.
Yeah.
So this has been really hard for the sellers and buyers to see eye to eye on things when it comes to the assets and the prices. The same home today that was built 10 years ago no longer cost the $280 it cost 10 years ago. That's just crazy. You cannot build that same home. If it burned down today, you cannot rebuild it for $280.
Mm-hmm.
And you already on the lot.
Yeah.
You just can't. And that brings us to what we need is the stabilization of the market. It will even out. The pendulum will swing back, but it's going to take time. And if you say, well, Teresa, what's your crystal ball? Say, I don't have a crystal ball, but I can tell you that I've studied the history of real estate for almost 30 years now, and the pendulum always swings back. We still have a really low rate. We need to look at the positives. We still have, a presidency who actually has some real estate background, who maybe will implement some rules and regulations to help cut some of the red tape and still respectfully keep the regulations, because we don't want the quality to go down. But you don't need to, the quality doesn't have to go down to save time. They've got nothing to do with each other.
Yeah. No, it's I mean,
get through more red tape has nothing to do with the builder building a house on the street.
Yeah.
And so what we want to do is it's got to ebb and flow correctly. And with pricing, people say, oh, the pricing's starting to go down. It's actually not. It's just stabilizing.
Yeah, it's finally leveling out a little bit, and it's still too
probably 18 months to 3 years. we will be more stable. And then, but if we are all to be honest with things, the next 2 years are going to be pivotal in making the next 5 years more sustainable. Does that kind of make sense?
It sure does. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like I said, this is like an alcoholic. It didn't happen overnight. It's not going to get fixed overnight. It's you got to go day by day and one day at a time. The next thing,
and real estate's always evolving. You know what I mean? Just like the AI, ChatGPT. Everything's evolving, and I always say you grow or you go. Yeah.
Top 10 issues that impact real estate in 2025. We're going to stick this out all over the place because this is something that everyone should be hearing, and we're getting it from an expert in Teresa Autrey. She knows what she's talking about. You can actually post this article on your LinkedIn site if you want, but you're giving us the ins and outs of each one of these things. The next one I thought was really interesting. This is one of those ones I don't have anything to do with, and I don't really know what it means. Office conversions. What is that?
Okay, well, first I did want to say I got this information not only from local market research that I personally do and the markets I'm in, but this is also backed by NAR, which is the National Association of Realtors. Okay. So I always want to cite the sources.
Sure.
Office sustainability, that's where we go back to. You remember how a lot of people went work from home? Mm-hmm. And some people are either disciplined enough to do that or they're not. Well, a lot of these loans that's coming due on the commercial property is going to determine whether or not they can hold on to that. So I don't know if Elon Musk is correct about saying people need to get back in the office or not.
Well, and January 1st of this year, Google, Tesla, I mean, all of these major corporations came back and said, everyone get your ass back to work. Yeah. But they're I mean, even people that are productive have to come back to work now, which I'm sitting here in my house right now doing a show. So
but for you and I, we're just an independent contractor.
Yeah.
If you don't get up and go to work this morning, you're not going to be able to eat tonight.
Yeah.
If we don't feed the machine, we don't eat.
Yeah.
So we know that, but not everybody has that capability, desire, discipline. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's a lot of discipline to be self-employed. There's a lot of discipline to be in this. I mean, it's cold and it's snowing and it's raining and it's icky. And I'm trying to have a builders meeting on Monday.
Yeah.
And what's ironic is they're saying, well, let's just push it off to Wednesday because of the weather. And I'm like, that's 2 more days. That's 2 more days and more time. That's 4 whole days. You know what you can do with 4 whole days?
Yeah. No, it'll be 93 degrees on Monday.
And a hurricane on Tuesday.
Exactly.
I just think that people do need to be back in the office because office conversions are meaning. I don't care if the office is modern, comfortable, but an office environment does. I mean, science has proven it, and I can't argue with that. It's not a personal opinion, but science has proven that being in an office environment, activity breeds activity. When they're converting these blocks into offices, that helps.
Yeah. Can you give me a percentage? And I'm gonna put you on the line here. A percentage of capacity pre-COVID and post-COVID for office space right now. I mean, what percentage of offices was open before COVID hit, and what percentage is now filled? Do you have any idea?
If I remember my numbers correct, it's been about a year since I reviewed those stats. It was, I want to say 74% was 100% occupied and had been for more than 3 years. Because you don't just look at what's actually occupied, you look at the long term. Because most businesses, i.e. restaurants, close in the first 3 years. Mm-hmm. So you look at have they been open past the 3-year mark and what percent of occupancy are they? Then it went down to almost a 24%.
Wow.
And then it kind of went back up to about 54%.
Okay.
So we're in that 50 to 60% now, and we really need to be in the 80%.
So a ways to go. Final thing on here, price gap expectations. What does that mean?
What now?
Price gap expectations. Yes, price gap expectations.
That's what I was saying about the buyer and the seller. When the buyer and seller, when the buyer's thinking, okay, I'm going to get a discount because they've heard the news saying, oh, the prices are going down. That's not accurate. They're not reporting the truth. What they're reporting is what they're told to report because feet on the street is we're still short on homes.
Yeah.
However, no seller is going to be able to price gouge his house or her house the way they did 2 years ago. If it's a $380,000 house, it's a $380,000 house. You are not going to get $500 for that $380,000.
Yeah.
You're just not.
Yeah. And I think, the news cycle is so fast. and we get so far ahead of ourselves on things. And so when people start hearing about the interest rates going down and everyone's already like looking a year ahead of time going, okay, great. And they start going, okay, I'm going to finance this.
Well, the Fed has said they're only probably going to drop rates once, maybe twice this year.
Yeah.
Maybe twice. They haven't even guaranteed 2 times.
Yeah.
And that is because we're going to have to stabilize.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're getting there. Great stabilizing show. We could probably go another 8 hours on just those 10 topics. Tell people how they can get.
Well, that's why we need to build those subdivisions and build the, get the people back out there to work.
We're getting there. We're getting there, baby. Tell people how they can get in touch with you because you're red hot while everyone else is kind of twiddling their thumbs, man. You're always wheeling and dealing. Tell people how they can get in touch with you.
Sure. You guys can reach out to me, Teresa Autrey, 205-294-4200. And also you can reach out, Keller Williams, Birmingham North. And that's teresa.autrey@gmail.com. I'd love to help you.
We'll do another show next week. And I cannot wait to talk about, we get some big plans, not only for the development of this show, but the development of the land in and around the Birmingham area. And you're going to have your fingers on a lot of those things. So we're looking forward to that. Thank you so much. Have yourself a wonderful weekend. I appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
This has been a special presentation of Tony Kurre Radio.